Hello, everyone. It's Mark Kargela, your host for the Modern Pain Podcast, and I'm excited for you guys to be here. And I'm excited again to have David Hanscom join us for part 3 of our interview series with David. We've had great feedback on the first 2 parts of our series, and looking forward to talking with you again. David, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Just got done with my workout and exercise. You'd be proud of me.
Nice. Physios love that. That's right up our alley for sure.
Well, now, I do find out if I don't stretch that I hurt. That's simple.
Yeah, got to prepare the body to move well. That's
right.
Definitely something we are big proponents of for sure.
Right.
Now, last time we spoke about the family and its role in pain and some of the challenges that can go on in that family dynamic.
Right.
And so we got a decent understanding. You've really gotten some good points around that. I'm curious now, how do you put this into action? How do you really help that family maybe structure itself or work within that family dynamic to help each other because I think it's a healing process, not just of the patient, but the family kind of has to heal too. I'm just curious, how do you approach that with the family?
Well, it turns out, let me review a little bit what we talked about last time. What we found out, we can do all sorts of medical interventions, but we mentioned last time this research that shows, and when a person's triggered, their pain goes up, and it consistently occurs within families. What's ironic about the human condition is that the deeper our human connections, the deeper the triggers. And of course, that plays out in our family. And it's a huge problem. So if we don't address the family dynamics, it sort of wipes everything else out. It turns out that untoward family dynamics are maybe the biggest factor of keeping people in chronic pain, but also by far and away the quickest way of coming out of chronic pain. It's been remarkable to watch. But basically, there's a little saying called that neurons that fire together, wire together. And when you're full of stress chemicals, when you're frustrated by anything, those are connected directly to pain pathways. So when you're stressed, it changes the body's chemistry, which increases the vigilance of the nervous system and increases the pain, but also directly stimulates the pain circuits. So you have a double-edged sword as far as the actual pain increasing. The family dynamics are by far and away the strongest triggers in human existence. And we're programming our parents on how to deal with the environment. Then those strategies play out in our new family. So whatever triggers your parents have, guess what? They become your triggers. And unfortunately, I've learned that you're always attracted to your darkest patterns. No matter, they come in different packages, of course, but they're the most familiar patterns, and that's who you end up with as far as spending your life with. You can look at it as a tragedy or as an opportunity to work through patterns, right? Most of us don't understand reactive patterns, and so we bounce around, we argue, we fight. We pointed out that what blows marriages apart is actually a neurological trick, because you spend time with somebody, you have kids together, you have houses, plans, friends together, and then it falls apart. It doesn't make any sense. But if you look at the whole process as a neurological trick, it makes sense. Remember, the unconscious brain is a million times stronger than the conscious brain. When you're triggered, that's the unconscious survival reaction. So when you're triggered, just think for a second what you're triggered by your spouse or partner. It's silly. And we found out the number one trigger in our office has been the dishwasher, how people load the dishwasher. It's consistent, it's unbelievable. Very heated discussions right there in the office about how to load the dishwasher. So you wouldn't have that conversation on the first date. Why would you 5 years later have any anxiety or frustration around how you load the dishwasher? It's silly, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a neurological trick. That's it. So it's a metaphor for other things that are going on in a relationship. But I also figured out that relationships are like chronic pain. You might have 100 things that are positive, 5 things that are negative. But as your brain tries not to think about something, it thinks about it more. So over 10, 20, 30 years of marriage, those little nothings 30 years ago become these monsters and just blow things apart. So again, neurons that fire together, wire together. When you're triggered by your spouse, which is 100% by the way, if you tell me that you're not triggered, I'm going to challenge you, do you actually have a relationship? Because that's the way the brain works. It's a neurological trick. So it's like a reverse magnet effect that in spite of your best intentions, nobody wants a divorce, right? And it's just disruptive as can be. It just rips the fabric right out of your soul, destroys your kid's life, destroys your family's life. And these are people that you supposedly love, But again, it's that irrational survival response, like reverse magnetism, just blows it all apart. Once you understand the neurological trickery behind it, you can solve it. And the way you solve it is you create a structure around it, because these are not rational responses. So the metaphor I use is that when you're triggered, it's like two boxers in a ring. You just have to break it up. Because we know that anger is a survival reaction. It's about self-preservation. It's only about you. It has nothing to do with the other person's well-being. And the essence of relationships in general is becoming aware of other people's needs. And when you're angry, you've lost complete awareness. So the rules we talked about last time were 4 rules. One of them is that we'd like each person in the household participating in the project. The second one is to have the person in pain never discussing their pain ever again, or complaining, or anybody in the house complaining about anything. It doesn't really help your day. And there's plenty of things to complain about outside the house, but in your house, you want a safe place and a comfortable place to be. Complaining doesn't help. I mean, that includes giving advice. The third thing is spend some time with your partner and your family and your kids, remembering when things are really enjoyable. When are things fun? Why are you together? What's going on? And as we fight these massive anxiety reactions within the marriage, the fun part tends to get buried, again, by repetition. So it's really critical to remember in detail the conversations, the feelings, the dreams, the hopes, all those things in detail about why are you together? What did you lose the last 10 years of being together that's now gone, especially in the presence of chronic pain? Then the final thing is that to bring that energy into the house and keep it there. And we're going to talk about today a little bit more is the creating a safe house within your own house, that the world is a competitive, risky place. The only potential safe place is your home. You have control over your home. But as we know, with domestic violence, abuse, over 100 million people being in chronic pain, the divorce rate, all these different things that are going on, the abuse that occurs in the families, is that the essence of abuse is lack of awareness. When you're angry, you've lost complete awareness of those around you. When you're critical of other people, you're just simply projecting your view of the world onto that other person that's not meeting their needs. How often do you actually listen to your kids? How often do you listen to your spouse? Again, I'm not preaching here. I'm talking about my own experience also, but this is universal stuff. So it turns out that it's really key for a successful relationship at every level to become aware of the other person's needs. So the final and fourth step after you remember when things are really fun is to create a safe house within your house. And the structure has lots of, I'll use the word arbitrary rules. Remember, these are arbitrary reactions. We know that you never solve anything in an argument. So first thing you commit to do is actually simply do not argue or fight in the house. Now that's easier said than done, because when you're triggered, the reactions are quick. But my wife and I are both working on this. We both get triggered. It happened a few days ago, again, much to my dismay. But in general, we're really recognizing that when we're triggered and upset, nothing good comes out of the conversation. So we either just leave the room or we just walk away, get out of the house. It's really critical just to break it up as quickly as possible, because nothing you can say in an argument is going to add to that relationship. The second thing is picture yourself walking in the front door of the house with your partner's wife, kids, whoever's in the household. What's your family seeing? Who's your family seeing? Is it somebody that they're excited about seeing? Or are you in a consistently a bad mood, shouting out orders, being critical, complaining about the day? Is that the energy you really want to bring in the door to this family that you love? Then what happens is that you walk in the door angry and frustrated. Then you actually trigger your family through the mirror neurons effect. Also, when they're angry and frustrated, then they trigger you back. And it's game on, right? Mm-hmm. Not psychological. It's the mirror neurons effect that when you smile at a baby, the baby smiles back. Not because the baby's happy, but you just stimulated that part of the brain. I tell my patients, when you are angry or upset, don't come in the front door. I don't care if it's only 1 out of 10 times. Your family doesn't know which one of those 10 times it's going to be. It's even worse when you intermittently come in upset because you could be happy, people are excited about seeing, all of a sudden, bam, you throw a bucket of water over their head. You can't do that too many times without putting your family on guard all the time. What all of us want is for our family and our friends, by the way, to be really excited about seeing us. We're excited about seeing them. Then you might be excited about seeing your family, but you walk in the door in a bad mood, all of a sudden they're reacting to you. You're going, what's going on? I want to say, I love my family. I like them also. We're reacting to each other. So that really initial interaction with your family anytime during the day is really, really critical. It's really critical. So then the other part of the structure is to create a family structure. We meet once a week and look at your family like a business. And I think we talked about a metaphor about solving chronic pain by learning a new language. For instance, if you want to learn French, you're going to take the classes, you're going to do a lot of repetition. And let's say 5 years from now, you're fluent in French. Well, your nervous system changed. Your brain changed, so you now speak French. You didn't learn French by not speaking English. Just by not speaking English doesn't give you French, right? So what you're trying to do in solving chronic pain is called neuroplasticity. You're stimulating a new part of your brain to form, and you can't come out of chronic pain by trying not to be in pain. You have to thoughtfully create new sets of reactions that help you enjoy your life. And they call this new language an enjoyable life. What occurs individually in your own life, but also occurs within your family. So as a family unit, you decide, what can we do to make our family a place that's really relaxing, really enjoyable? And that means, again, creating a structure where you have once a week family meeting with a fixed agenda, and people can put things on the agenda, but that meeting can't involve fighting or arguing or you're doing this, this, and this. It's not a problem-solving meeting. It's a meeting where you actually move forward with your vision of what you want to create. Remember, any business can't become a business and create a vision first about what you want to create. So I wrote a part of my book called A Personal Business Plan as far as individually creating your own plan for your life. If you're just trying to survive pain, anxiety, and anger, you're not creating much of a life. If you have certain things in your life that you want, certain hobbies, certain friends, certain activities, you have to plan on that and actually go after that. So I'm not into positive thinking. Positive thinking is a way of suppressing negative thinking, but positive substitution with a vision is absolutely critical because that's where your brain's going to develop. That's why, and then once the family meetings get going, you have an agenda, then you alternate with different family members each week running the meeting. You create an action plan. You maybe even want to run it by Robert Rules of Orders if you want. The more structure in the meeting, the better. It should be maybe a half an hour a week. That's about it. And it's not where you solve life's problems. So if you want to sit down and talk about school and create that as an agenda item, we'll sit down a half an hour tomorrow and discuss your school situation. That's part of the meeting. But you want to create structure in a way that not only decreases the chaos, but creates the life that you want both personally and as a family. Because you want to give your family a good life. You like your family. Okay, coming home and being angry, critical, self-centered, reactive, none of that creates a family that's enjoyable for anybody, including yourself. But we found out when you pull the whole family unit in, again through the mirror neurons effect, the whole positive energy in the household, it's unbelievable how quickly families come around. It's been really remarkable. I know there's a rather long answer to one question, but
no, and I think that's it's a good summary of kind of how you approach it, and it's interesting because when we have discussions around pain and being that biopsychosocial context, I think I don't think traditionally we have a lot of folks that really get that much into that family context. I mean, I think the environments that people function in and some of the things we talk about, and I'll talk with patients, is I can make you feel wonderful in the four walls of this clinic because we can do various pain modulating techniques and things. But if like you said, if home is just like this stress triggered, mess, you can see how that would be a tough environment for pain to change with any significant time frame. If they're in the nice, relaxing clinical atmosphere and they go home and everything just triggers and brings them back into it. So I definitely think there's applicability with what we see with people. And now, and from what we've talked about, this has been something you've developed kind of through your own experience, but have you leaned upon any particular folks in that, like maybe counseling, psychology realm to really develop this?
Well, I'm going to write a fourth book. I've written two editions of Back in Control, A Surgeon's Roadmap About Chronic Pain. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to re-embark on a book I've already finished called Do You Really Need Spine Surgery? A Surgeon's Advice. Then the next book is going to be Healing Your Family's Pain. I mean, there's a whole book to be written on this. Mm-hmm. And I learned this by accident is that every year we hold a workshop back east at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Our next workshop is July 7th through 9th. And it's based on awareness, hope, forgiveness, and play. And in that workshop, 80% of people go to pain-free within the weekend. It's ridiculous. And I have no idea. I couldn't figure out for a long time. It happens every year, every time. I also realized that I don't do much except create the structure, but people feel safe. And people in chronic pain become socially isolated. And I wanted to create a structured environment where people felt safe. Well, that's similar to what you want to create in the family, right? You have a structure, you have your home, you have a choice of making it safe. And we mentioned this in the program before, your sense of well-being in life really depends on your body's chemistry. If you're full of stress hormones, you're agitated, you're hypervigilant, you're not relaxed, life isn't good because you're trying to protect yourself. Where you're full of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and the Valium-type drugs called GABA drugs, you feel great. Those are the play chemicals. So the workshop is based on awareness, understanding the logical nature of pain, hope. We have lots of stories of people that have gone to pain-free. Forgiveness, you're not going to really get happy until you let go of anger. It's not possible. And the final part is play. So you think of anger chemicals compared to play chemicals, it's a huge shift. The comment we get every year is that they feel like you've been in an adult summer camp or like in a giant sandbox. And every structure, every conversation is structured. My wife's a professional tap dancer. We do what's called the cup song and different other rhythms. My daughter is an expressive arts therapist and does lots of drawing, relaxation exercises, nature walks, lots of sharing. And I finally figured out that I create the structure, but people heal each other. It's that human connection to other people, that's what creates healing. Again, it's the same issues within the family, that if you can create a healing environment that's sustainable, it's just game on. It's incredibly powerful. But we also learned there that I didn't realize that people in chronic pain are searching for an answer for their pain. Remember, all these efforts of self-help books, seeing doctor after doctor after doctor, all your attention's on solving the pain. Remember, you can't solve chronic pain by trying not to be in pain. You solve chronic pain through neuroplasticity. You create a different nervous system in your body. So it's good food, good wine, good friends, relaxation. And people say, well, I'm in pain. How can I do all that? Well, I also wrote another website post called Moving Forward with Your Pain. If you're waiting for your pain to go away before you move forward to live your life, that's a problem. The first thing I tell my workshop clients is that you're not here to get rid of your pain. And they go, what are you talking about? I just flew 3,000 miles. I spent all this money to a pain workshop, and you're telling me that we're not here to get rid of your pain. I'm going, that's right. The goal is to live your life with or without your pain. And as you move forward, executing your vision, paradoxically, you leave the pain behind. But also what I didn't realize for a long time is you've now changed the body's chemistry to play chemicals instead of stress chemicals. Pain goes away. So 80% of our people go to pain-free within the weekend. Now, when they go back home to the triggers, and I warn them about this very clearly, that you're going to go back into your pain pathways, but the goal of the workshop is to taste that safety. And I just get an email from a person who's coming back for the third time from the Netherlands, and horrendous family issues, really back and forth, back and forth. I just got a very long email from him where all of a sudden things have just flipped around dramatically. Not somebody, it was hard. I mean, it took about a year and a half, but they created the structure. They quit talking about the pain. They, as a couple, methodically decided to create peace, love, and joy in their family. Their kids are no longer acting out. They're getting along. And he's just blown away. But he tasted the feeling of being safe in that workshop. I think once your brain connects with that feeling of feeling perfectly safe, relaxed, and connected to other people, we all know how to do that. It's how we were raised at some level. The human brain actually develops based on play. That's how you get the three-dimensional development of the nervous system. So the play circuits are in there. You don't have to make those up. You just have to reconnect with them. So it struck us, and again, the rule that came out really clearly is don't discuss your pain. A lot of people thought they're going to come there in detail and really discuss their pain, their trauma, all these things in detail. There's some basic premise that by understanding the problem enough, you're going to solve it. Well, again, if your attention's on the pain, you're going to reinforce the pain, right? I tell my patients, look, if you want to talk about your pain, just visualize yourself putting your hand right into a hornet's nest. Now, what I wasn't ready for is the amount of time that people do spend talking about their pain and complaining. And we have a terrible time every year. Absolutely, there's always one or two people out of 15 to 20 that won't stop talking about their pain. So every year, I've had to ask one or two people to leave the workshop. They just can't stop. And it's fine. I mean, I get it. These are irrational neurological circuits. So I get it. Not being critical, but I can't, again, the mirror neurons effect, if you're there to relax and enjoy each other, if you have even one person complaining about whatever, it goes right to the workshop. So that's where it came pretty clear in this person, Mark, I can mention his name. It's just been a remarkable, his wife had an injury, created a lot of chaos in the marriage, two young children, they started acting out. And he had the hardest time understanding this business of living with your pain. But as you live with your pain and execute your vision, again, things start to change dramatically. And it was hard for him to quit complaining, hard for him to quit being critical. And the last 6 months for him has just been a magical 6 months. It took about 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, and again, these everything you're saying makes so much sense. And I think one of the big topics, as I heard you talking about that we're kind of seeing where it fits within our work with folks, and I think it definitely has a huge place, is this whole thought of acceptance and being able to kind of move forward without this whole pursuit of I have to fix the pain, I have to fix the pain, I have to fix the pain. That sounds like it's a pretty, written in stone rule that, folks need to be willing to move forward with it. And it's interesting that folks, I can imagine the responses you would get when people, like you said, travel so far and all of a sudden you're saying, hey, we're not here to get rid of your pain. We're here to get you to move forward in life and start getting back into things, like you said, play and things. And the lives we see with patients too. When I ask patients, when's the last time you did something fun or that you've enjoyed, and what's the last thing that brought joy? And like they have blank stares coming back at me. So right. You can see how those circuits get kind of buried, deep within when life gets kind of consumed by pain.
Right.
If we can just get people to start working out of that, that pain language, like you said, and start speaking a different language of play and things, it would makes complete sense that could make a dramatic change in people.
Can I make one comment to what you just said? So it's not about accepting the pain. This is the key issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about assimilating it. You really absorb pain right into your soul. You get to feel it, live with it, and move forward. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to like the pain. Again, positive thinking is sort of a disaster. For instance, affirmations by themselves are a conscious means to deal with these unconscious circuits. It's a matter of totally immersing yourself in the pain, being with the pain, and then you just live your life. And you just quit paying attention to the pain. You don't like it. I get bad arthritis in my hips and knees. I actually have more pain now than I had when I was disabled by pain. But what I don't have the anxiety. I mean, pain's pain. I can deal with it. I don't like it. I don't accept it. I mean, I'm still working hard to move forward. I want to move forward with my life. And I have lots of days that I'm pain-free. And I like those days better than the days I'm in pain. But I think the term accepting is a little bit of a plan of sort of consciously trying to deal with this unconscious reaction. And I call it walking into your pain. You just walk right into it. This is who you are. This is your life. These are permanent circuits. And remember, we talked about also a few days ago that mental pain is a bigger problem than the physical pain. Mental pain is not going to go away. I mean, stress is coming at you every day. The stress isn't the problem. It's that adrenalized cortisol reaction to the stress. That's the problem. And I'm trying to get rid of this term mind-body because it's just a unit. Your body feels pain as a unit. It feels pleasure as a unit. When your body's full of these relaxation chemicals, you feel relaxed. You don't just mentally, right now, you have a busy day, you're talking to me. You're relatively relaxed and you can think about being on a beach, but you're not on the beach. You're not in the sun. You're here, right? Mm-hmm. So you can think the word relaxed, but unless you actually feel relaxed, you actually don't feel relaxed. It's an intellectual word. Or if you're on the beach and in the sun and relaxed, whatever, and your brain's racing about your boss that just chews you out, you're not relaxed there either. You get the opposite problem occurring. So the idea is to just connect with what is and feel. And what you're doing, you're allowing yourself to feel. The good news is you feel a lot better. Pain really does go down. But if you're triggered, your anxiety, anger, frustrations will be worse. In other words, when you feel worse, you're going to feel worse. In other words, you're allowing yourself to actually feel at the deepest level, both positively and negatively.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you on this whole thought of acceptance. And I guess the acceptance I kind of think about is like, hey, it's not that we have to accept that it's okay to move forward with pain, not that you have to accept that pain is going to be a miserable. You have no way to change. I think obviously pain's a lot changeable, as you've evidenced by the results you get, and by what we see with folks in clinic when folks can make that conscious decision that I can move forward, even if it isn't meaning that I'm pursuing where I'm going away from this fix the pain approach to live my life approach.
Correct. Exactly. That's dead on. But also, if I can make a comment about I give lectures to physical therapists all over the country and give workshops and stuff. And a couple things we first of all say to the physical therapist is that I first of all absolve them from solving their patient's pain. It's not your responsibility. It's the patient's responsibility, 100% in the story. Second of all, your goal obviously is to stretch and strengthen and educate about positive biomechanics and the whole thing and conditioning. And so remember, chronic pain has lots of parts to it, with the physical part being an important part of it. But if you're not dealing with sleep issues or the stress issues and other medication issues, you can only solve part of the problem. The key to solving chronic pain is understanding the problem. Second part, you treat every aspect simultaneously. The third part is patient takes control. So as a physical therapist, we suggest, and this has been really helpful for a lot of therapists, first of all, you're not responsible for your patient's pain. Second of all, they aren't allowed to complain in your office either. Where's the pain? What's going on? That's it. When they start complaining about their pain, how people treat them, and the medical care, which I know wears therapists out, I know you feel a little obligated because this person's referred to you by another physician, but you're actually enabling them. So we suggest that the therapists also don't let the patients talk about the pain. The third thing is create a mindfulness-based therapy. Ask them, say, okay, we're going to work on active meditation or mindfulness. And as they go through the different joint range of motions and how does this feel, actually allow them to feel their pain. What does that feel like? What does it look like? What's your reaction to it? Actually become an observer of your own pain, but also create a relaxing environment, which again helps the body's chemistry. And then obviously set up a program. So there's lots of didactic things to do. And I'm sure you'll agree with me on this one. When I talk to therapists around the country, uniformly, they'll tell me that many patients spend the entire session just complaining the entire time. Is that true?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we'll have patients that's their focus for sure. And I think it's hard for therapists and we just had a blog post from colleagues that came out on Pain Cloud. They talked about, are we too pain focused? And I would agree 100%. And your discussions and your approach is definitely a testament to that. If we make everything in their life so they're already so pain contingent, and if you bring them into a clinical scenario where what's your pain, rate your pain on a 0 to 10, here's this technique, what's your pain feeling as you do this technique, I think all we do is reinforce the wrong message, and we kind of fill them with the same stuff that they're already doing plenty of at home, as being very pain contingent and pain focused and pain centric with every thought and belief. I do like the mindfulness approach, and I think it is huge. It's been where people can be present with those sensations from their body and see if they can, take inventory of their reactions to it, and maybe try to do, different, or try to take a different reaction, or maybe monitor the reaction. Now, you've talked about how sometimes those reactions aren't something we can harness as much. Am I right to say that, where those reactions to pain or these sensations that we have in our body, nociception, I should say, where do you think within the mindfulness realm, do you think you can retrain people to kind of harness that reaction, and maybe instead of tapping into that adrenalized cortisol system, that they can kind of move it in a different direction?
Well, the key is you learn to be with the reaction. I have a website post called The Ring of Fire. It's on my website, backincontrol.com. And it's the essence of a workshop is that there's 3 rings. The outer ring is the blue ring. It's what we do to stay busy and active and accomplish things, to avoid the red ring, which is the middle ring, which is fear, anxiety, frustration, which we don't like. We spend a lot of time and energy going outwards to avoid being in the red ring, and it works a lot of the time, except you get worn out. The key is being into the green center, which you just get to be.
Hmm.
Now, I got to the green ring by default. I got stripped clean. I was very good about accomplishments and grades, giving back, all these different identities I developed to avoid anxiety and frustration. To the point I didn't even know I had anxiety and frustration. All of a sudden, the wheels fell off really badly. So I ended up in the green center by default, but you don't have to get stripped clean to get into the green center. So as you train your body to be less reactive to stress, in other words, instead of being stress, choice of adrenalized response, is stress, choice of response. And what mindfulness does, it gives you a different, less adrenalized reaction, right? So, but to do that, you actually have to actually be okay with anxiety, frustration, and pain. So as you learn to actually be with the pain, immerse yourself in the pain, quit reacting to it, that red ring becomes more narrow. So instead of avoiding anger and anxiety, you realize that's part of life. There's a certain amount of it's going to occur every day. And I'll use the word accept. As you accept the fact or understand that anxiety and frustration are part of life, you're not going to get rid of this stuff. You just learn to be with it. Then you can be in the green ring a lot of the time. Now, if you're in the center just being, so you're feeling good and you want to take out a new endeavor, project, or new friendship, you still have to cross the red ring. I mean, every new endeavor still takes anxiety and frustration. You have to still be comfortable going back and forth through the red ring in both directions, right? But it's that training your body, in other words, using mindfulness to fix the pain, because that's what we tend to do, that doesn't work. If you use the mindfulness to be with the pain and you quit fighting it, then you just get to be.
That is a massively hard thing for some people too. I mean, it takes some practice with people. And do you ever come across people that kind of get a little bit, I think of, I guess, traditionally, and this is probably stereotypical of me to say, but the guys who aren't into the mindfulness, if that's too hokey or whatever it may be. Do you have any things you run into folks with where they're resistant to really kind of internalizing and seeing where they're at as far as doing some of these mindfulness things that they may perceive as something that isn't, fit them as a person, I guess?
Well, you just hit a trigger point for me. So, all right, in medicine.
Yeah.
Let's talk about spine surgery, just to be specific, because that's my area of expertise. Almost every treatment we perform in spine surgery, whether it's epidural injections, rhizotomies, facet blocks, surgery, have been documented to be ineffective. The success rate of a spine fusion for back pain is 22%. That's not very good, right? I presented a lecture to a group of physical therapists in Oregon 3 weeks ago, and I just simply presented the data about what we know versus what we're doing. It's almost a complete disconnect. The treatments that work, mindfulness, meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, exercise, stretching, strengthening, work. They've been documented to be effective. They aren't covered by insurance. What mainstream medicine is doing essentially is we're pretending to do medicine.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to scoff at mindfulness, fine. There's hundreds of times more data on mindfulness relaxation being effective than there is on spine surgery. Spine surgery right now is a $13 billion a year industry and climbing. It's massively expensive. It doesn't work very well. There's a high chance of making you worse. So the people that are scoffing don't know the data. There are also a lot of them engaging in these practices have been clearly documented. In fact, there's not one research paper ever that compares a spine fusion for back pain with effective treatments. And a success rate of 22% is not good. There's also a 40% chance of actually making you worse. You have double the chance of making you worse than actually helping you with spine surgery. But we've sold the public this story that there's something wrong, we can fix you. And people say, well, patients just want a quick fix. That's sort of the defense. People just want to be fixed. The medical profession and the business of medicine has actually sold people the idea that we can fix you. It's also extraordinarily profitable to perform procedures that don't work because then you get to do more procedures. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know the racket. Oh, yeah. But yeah, there's a tremendous amount of resistance from people about mindfulness working. Again, going back to the original part of the conversation, you're simply changing body's chemistry, which are real changes. This is also high school science class, right?
Yeah.
When you're full of adrenaline, cortisol, and stress chemicals, you don't feel very good. When you're full of relaxation chemicals, you feel great. Mm-hmm. So that's just high school science. And then in medical school, we learn a tremendous amount of the human body as you do in physical therapy training. Where did all that go? Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. As far as I think we've moved so far astray from what we know, and science, has kind of taken a back seat to, I think some of these, like you said, perverse incentives of revenue and all these different things that our system has kind of moved away from it. And unfortunately, the people that have been left in the dust are poor patients who are fighting to figure out why they aren't being fixed and why these surgeries, why they're worse, like you said, after their surgeries or after various things that they've gone through. So I've really, really enjoyed the conversation today. I think there came out some great points. I want to respect your time, David, and I actually have a hard stop to a patient I have to go to. So is there anything you want to leave folks with today as we kind of sign off?
I just want to, again, reinforce the idea that your sense of well-being in life is based on your body's chemistry. You have great play chemicals, you feel good. You have stress chemicals, you don't feel very good. What you're doing with the tools that have been out there for centuries is simply regulating your body's chemistry. The family unit is a major factor in both directions. It's an incredible place of safety, nurturing, and love, which people feel great. Human connection is a huge deal. At the same time, they're also the biggest triggers, and it can be chaotic as can be. Really become aware of your body's chemistry, your reactions, how you feel, become aware of your effect on other people. And then the only person you can actually change is yourself, right? And so as you learn these tools, it will spread out throughout your entire family. But yeah, I think if you look at the chronic pain as a family unit problem, things will change dramatically.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, David, and make sure everybody who's listening, check out David's website, backandcontrol.com, and keep an eye on he's got some great blog posts that he's mentioned today. He's also has books. Definitely Back and Control is a great book that I think really lends probably a lot more detail than what we were able to cover in these three interviews. And I can't thank you enough for your time in these three interviews, David. We've had such good feedback already for the folks that have heard and listened to the first two. So we thank you so much, and we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Thanks. Appreciate it very much.